In this video, let's understand how to make various important Power BI visuals. We are going to be creating all of these visuals. In this video, I'm also going to explain some really powerful time-saving and valuable storytelling and visualization tricks. Let's go. So this is the completed file, but I'm going to start from scratch. I'll have a copy of this blank file that you can use to build all the visuals. These visuals are all built on our standard Awesome Chocolates data model. Here is the data model. It is the model for a fictional chocolate company called Awesome Chocolates, and we have got 5 tables. I have got other videos on my playlist where I go into the model and explain what is the tags and how to build this model. But for now, let's go ahead and make these visuals. I'm going to first delete everything. You can just lasso select like this and select all the items, and you can do a lot of things to them, but I'm just going to hit the delete key so we can start from scratch. You can see that even when I delete everything, the background is still there. So this is our very first tip, how to set the background. First up, I'm going to open the format ribbon here, and from there, go to canvas background, and you can see that I have got a background here. I'm just going to delete that, and this is how normally Power BI pages will look when you make a new page. Now let's bring in a background image. For this, what I have done is I created a background in PowerPoint. You can also use other tools like Canva or Figma or any other online tools to create a background image for your Power BI pages. It's a good idea to create a background image or use a color, something simple like that, to elevate your dashboards and reports. Here is my PowerPoint background generator file. In this file, all I have is these shapes. These are nothing but rounded rectangle shapes. I have put them and added a little bit of shadow effect around that and set up a title area there. Once this is done, I went to File, Save As, and saved the slide as a PNG file. Now that it is saved as a PNG, I can add that as the page background here by selecting that. The first visual that we're going to create is a column chart. In Power BI, there are different kinds of column charts. You have got this one, which is a stacked column chart. You also have a clustered column chart, and we have a 100% stacked column chart. Each of these serve different purposes. So depending on your reporting needs and what kind of a message you want to communicate, pick one of these visuals. I'm going to pick this one. Let's add the country as well as total amount to this column chart. So our country is in the locations table. I'll add that to x-axis, and from the shipment table, I'm going to add total amount. This is how our graph looks. It looks pretty good, but I want to be able to see the total amount broken down by various categories of chocolate that we sell. For that, I'm going to take the products table category column, this column, and put that into the legend area of the column chart. Whatever you put into the legend area, that will be broken and stacked one on top of another. So if you add the category here, instantly the values are broken, and you'll also have a category legend added up top. If you want to adjust anything about the chart, you can use the format ribbon to do so. The format ribbon will be here. If you don't see this, you can use this button in Power BI to activate that. Depending on the version of Power BI, you may be also able to double click on the chart to format various things. When you double click, you'll see this kind of a blue border around things, and you can kind of select any one item and format it. So for example, I can select the title and I can type a different title there. Likewise, I can also select different aspects of the chart and modify them. We are going to use the format ribbon because it will give you full control over things. One other thing that I want to highlight here is the difference between various aspects of the chart build area. Whatever you put in the axis, so for example, right now we have got geo there, each geography will take up one column. Whatever you put into the y-axis will be visualized. In case of a column chart, we have put total amount there. So the total amount is what we are seeing here. And what we put in the category gets broken down into 3 different boxes there because we have got 3 categories. There are some other aspects as well, small multiples. We'll discuss that a bit later. And tooltips. If you put any items into the tooltip, they will be automatically shown when you hover on the chart. So for example, right now, if I put my mouse on this, I can see the name of geography, the category, and the total amount for geography India. But I can also add, for example, amount per shipment into my tooltips. And now if I put my mouse there, I can see the total amount as well as amount per shipment. The process for making a column chart and bar chart is exactly similar. It's just that a bar chart would visualize things horizontally, whereas a column chart would visualize things vertically. So I'm not going to go and show you how to make a bar chart. It's the same thing. So let's move on to the next type of a chart, which is a line chart. This is useful for visualizing the trends in our data. So here we're going to make a line chart that tells me the shipment count over time. I'm going to start by adding a line chart, move that into this box here. And in this line chart, I'll put my calendar's cal date into x-axis. And then I'm going to take our shipment count and put that into y-axis. This is going to produce a trend of all the shipments that we have done on a daily basis. As we do a lot of shipments, this is looking a bit too noisy for me. So I don't want to see the shipments at this level. Instead, I'll take out the cal date and I'm going to add the start of the month. This is basically for all the dates in the month, it will be one of that month. So we can use that field to kind of aggregate the data at a monthly level. Let's add that here. And this is how that looks. Everything looks fine except this little data point here. What is going on? If I point my mouse, I can see that the shipment count for October 2024 is only 4. Whereas for September, it's 395. So we seem to be in the range of 300s and then suddenly we drop it down to 4 in the month of October. What really happened is October is still ongoing, so we haven't loaded all the data. We have only loaded the data for the 1st of October, and that's why this shipment count is a little bit wrong. So for the purpose of the analysis here, I want to restrict the data that goes into this visual. In fact, all the visuals on this page only to the data up to end of September. So we don't want to consider the October data. This sort of a thing can be achieved by using the filter panel in Power BI. You can set filters at different levels. You can set filters at a visual level or page level or all pages. So we're going to set filter for this page. For this, I'm going to take the start of month and put this onto this page. And I'll select all and then go all the way down and uncheck October data. So now the shipment count trend is a bit more useful. When you have a line graph like this, again, you can select the line graph and use the format area to apply various kinds of formatting. For example, you can add a better title. Shipment count by start of month doesn't make any sense. Likewise, you can also adjust the alignment of that. And if you want, you can even add a subtitle. One of my favorite features of Power BI is to use this FX button to dynamically generate text values for the title that tell better story. I'm going to cover this much later in other advanced videos, but for now, I just want to leave that pointer for you. While I like Power BI visuals because they're super helpful to understand the data, one thing that I find annoying is these kind of axis titles. They don't really serve much of a purpose when you have simple visuals like this. So I like to take these out, and to do that, you want to select the visual and go into either x-axis or y-axis options. So let's go to the x-axis and go all the way down, and here is the title. We're going to uncheck that and turn that off. Let's do that for y-axis as well. Go down and turn off the title. You can also add markers to the line chart. Starting with the newer versions in October 2024, you can even customize markers for individual items or specific things. So for example, I may want to highlight the marker for September 2024 by making it slightly bigger. You can see that now this one is bigger, and even change the color to red color if I want to emphasize that data point. You can also introduce data labels. These kind of options, data labels and axis settings and titles, are applicable for every visual. So for example, instead of the vertical axis here, I may want to just add data labels. I can enable this and expand this out and the position, I'm going to change it to above. And we can also use this label density feature to adjust how much labels we want to see. Right now it is set to 50%, meaning half of the data points would have the labels. This kind of ensures that your report is not too cluttered. Now that we have got labels, I'm going to turn off the vertical axis altogether. For that, we are going to go into y-axis and turn off this values. The next visual that we want to make here is understand how many boxes each of our team is shipping. For this, we can use either a pie chart or a donut chart. So here I'm going to make a donut chart, move it into this little box and adjust the size of it. And in this donut, I want to add my team, which is in the people table, into legend. And in the values area, we're going to put boxes. By default, the donut chart will have this kind of a look with the donut in the middle and the legend on the side. I like to take out the legend and instead add the legend as a value underneath the number itself. To do that, select the visual and then go into the detail labels area here. And from there, label contents, I'm going to select all detail labels. This will add the team name, the value and percentage. Now that the team names are here, I can turn off the legend so that we are seeing all the detail here. Let's also align the title in the middle and our donut chart is ready. One note of caution when you're using donut charts or pie charts, try to use them only if you have a bunch of values. If you have too many values, these kind of visuals look cluttery. To prove the point, I'm going to take out the team and instead add the person. As we have got more than 20 people, our donut chart looks really busy and confusing. It doesn't really tell one message or story. So this is where stick to a few items when you are using either donuts or pie charts. The next important Power BI visual is the card visual. Power BI now has two kinds of cards. You have got this card and this card. This is the new card visual. And ever since this is introduced, I have been using this new card visual a lot. So I'm going to show you how to use this new card visual. For this to work, you may have to enable this in your Power BI. So go to the settings button here. And from here, go to preview features and enable the new card visual option. This is a preview feature currently, but eventually this will kind of replace that card visual. So you're better off learning how to use this and adopting this into your reporting needs. If you do add this new card visual, you'll need to restart Power BI. So save the file and restart it. Let's add the new card visual. And a card visual is a great way to tell one data point or one aspect of your data. So usually in the card visual, we just put some measures and then format them. I'm going to add our total amount, total boxes, and shipment count, the three key metrics in our chocolate business. You can see that the measures are actually going this way, whereas I would want to see them going down, one box underneath another. So while keeping this selected, we can go into the format ribbon here and expand the layout options. And right now it is going in a single row. I'm going to set this to single column. Next up, let's format these labels or cards so that we can actually see them better. We'll start by going into the callout values and change the font from DIN to Sego UI Bold. And then adjust the size of this to 24 points. Next, we go to the label options, and the label is currently, this is the label, it is above the number. So what I want to do is I want to move the label under the number. And for this, using the label here, the position above value, we'll change this to below value. We'll go back up to the values and align everything in the middle. And here, this option, space between label and text, I'm going to adjust this. I think 8 is too much. I'm going to make it 0. And now we can actually see everything. But they still look kind of bland. And what I want to do is I want to apply some color in the background and actually change the color. Total amount in one color, boxes in another color, and shipment count in another color. So they all look interesting. To do that, while keeping this card selected, we'll go here and go into the cards option at the bottom. This will give you different formatting choices for the cards. The cards are all taking currently a rectangle shape, and I'm going to change this to rounded rectangle. The roundness is too much, so I'm going to set this to 10 pixels. And then background, currently the background is on, but it is white color with 0% transparency. I'm going to change this to green color for our cards. Right now all the cards take the same color. So to adjust the individual colors, you want to go back a little bit up to the cards area and then see that what are you applying this to. Right now you're applying this for all series. So from here I'm going to select just total amount and then make sure that that is green. Then I go back up, select boxes, and for the boxes I want to have this color, and for shipment I want to have this color. With these colors I'm unable to read the labels because there is not enough contrast. So I'm going to change the color of labels as well as the text values. So we're going to go back up again to the callout values area, and from here change this to white color and change this to a dull shade of white color. That looks much better, but there is still one annoying problem here. You can see that there is too much space up top and not enough space at the bottom. To adjust this, you'll need to go into the cards area once again. So this is the cards area, and set the padding. So I'm gonna first set this to all and go into padding and just change this to custom padding, and make sure that we take out the top padding, set it to 0, and maybe make the bottom padding a bit more. So once you muck around with these things, you might be able to get a better alignment of these things. And you may also want to adjust the colors so that it is better contrasted. For example, this is how I have designed my final report. The colors are a bit more darker so we can actually read everything easily. The next visual that we're going to make is also a line graph, but this time I'm going to introduce a special feature called small multiples that helps us explore and understand the data better. Before we do the small multiples, let's first try to do that with a stacked area chart. So the thing that we want to understand is how many boxes we are shipping over a period of time, and how does this look for all of our 4 teams. So let's start with stacked area chart. I'm going to place this here, and in this area chart I'm going to put start of the month on x-axis and team in legend and total boxes into y-axis. So we'll get this kind of a picture. While there is nothing wrong with this picture, it is also a little bit harder to read because everything is stacked one on top of another. So it does tell us over a period of time our shipments did go up and then they went down. And this usually happens in a chocolate business. In the months of March and April, we don't sell that many chocolates, but they kind of pick up again in the months of July and then towards the holiday season. Even then, we can't really understand which teams have done well or not because everything is on top of each other. So there is no common baseline. And that is the problem with stacking things. So to fix this, Power BI adds this small multiples option, and this is available in many kinds of visuals. So usually in column charts, line graphs. So what we are going to do is, while keeping this selected, I'm going to take the legend team and then move that into small multiples area. This is going to basically split the graph into 4 graphs, creating this sort of a grid. So I can actually look at each team and understand how things are happening. And I can also compare one team with another. Of course, I do lose the overall picture, but now because the intention here is to understand how teams are doing, this helps me get a better sense of what is happening. So for example, thanks to this analysis, we can see that we have got this sort of a flat line going on for Tempo team, whereas some of these other teams do exhibit seasonal patterns. And for example, Juicy's team had this upward swing here. All of that is easy to see because we were able to split that into small multiple. These are really easy to use, by the way. You just have to put a field here. It can be team, or it can be category, or it can be something else. One tip though, don't put things here that have too many items. So for example, instead of team, if you were to put something like product, where we have got quite a few products, then what happens is it creates this sort of a massive grid, which is really hard to understand. To format the small multiples graph, when you select it and go to the format area, you'll see same options, the axis things and everything, but there is also a small multiple area. You can use this to format how the grid is set up and what goes where. So for example, if you expand this out, you can tell how many rows and columns you want. Right now it is 2 by 2, but if you want to see all the 4 in one place, you can say, I want this in 4 rows, 1 column, and you'll get this sort of a picture. You might think, okay, what is the difference between this and that? For example, I'm going to copy this graph, Control C and Control V, and make 2 versions of this. So this has 4 rows, and the original one, I'm going to change this to 2 by 2. You'll see that they both communicate the same things, but because the information is kind of split in 4 parts here, it's easy to compare one with another, but also not understand what is happening. For example, if you want to compare this data point with that data point, it's a little bit tricky for me. Whereas with this layout, I can compare same data point across teams easily. So depending on the need of the hour, what is it that you're trying to communicate and who needs to see what they want to see, you may have to select different layouts for your small multiples. In the format area for small multiples, you'll also be able to customize the color of this grid. For example, you may not want such a strong line separating them, and you can even add a background color if you want. You can also adjust the title of the teams there into the middle using these options there. Feel free to play around with these things to see more things that you can be doing. The next visual that we're going to build is matrix visual. This is super helpful to understand how things are happening in the intersection of 2 or more items. So for example, I may want to understand how we are doing across geographies and teams in terms of number of boxes. So here I want to see all our geographies, and here I want to see all our teams, and in the intersection I want to see how many boxes we're shipping. For this, we can use a matrix visual. This matrix visual is exactly same as how an Excel pivot table works. Matrix visuals are also great for seeing the numbers and understanding data better. So once you add the matrix visual, it will have the row option and column option and values option. You can put multiple items into each of these things, and whatever you put, they will be visualized into a matrix format. So into the row area, I'm going to put our geography, and into the column area, I'm going to put our team, and into the values area, I'm going to put our total boxes. We'll get this sort of a nice grid structure. And while keeping this selected, you can adjust all aspects of this matrix. So for example, you can make it easy on the eyes by making sure the text is readable. There is a bit more breathing room. So this is what I like to do. I'll select this matrix, and then I'll go to the grid options in the format area. And from there, scroll all the way down and adjust these things. So row padding is what I use to make sure that there is enough room between rows so that they look easy on the eyes. So I'm going to set this to 5 pixels. And now instantly you can see that it feels much more welcoming, this report. And if you want, you can also adjust the global font size. As we have got quite a bit of data, I think 10 points is fine. You can also adjust the border settings so that you can, turn off these borders if you don't like them. As we have got quite big numbers, one thing that you may want to do is take the number and show it in thousands. For this, you can go into the specific column area and expand this out, select total boxes and set the display units to thousands. Instantly, everything will be converted into thousands, and you can see that there. In newer versions of Power BI, you can also go into properties and use the data format to finally control how your data is displayed. For example, you can select the total boxes and you can use custom to specify a format code for your numbers. You may also want to turn off either of these total column or total row or the overall thing as well. To do that, select the matrix visual and then again go into these total options there, column totals and row totals and grand total options, and you can either turn them off or leave them on. You can also adjust their settings here, for example, what kind of a font they take, what color they appear in, and other things as well. I hope this video has given you the initial confidence you need to build and customize Power BI visuals. But we are not done. As you can see, there are plenty of other visuals here. So I've got another session planned on more visuals, and this is available in my paid Power BI course. So if you want to learn more about Power BI, not just how to make visuals, but how to create things like top 3 reports, or how to set up tool tips like this, or how to customize the interactions. So for example, here, if you see, here we are seeing geographical information, and here also we are seeing geographical information. So if I were to select on USA, this thing gets filtered and it becomes meaningless. I may want to turn off that sort of an interaction. So in the more visuals page here, for example, I have done that in the map visual. If I do click on UK, nothing really happens to this visual. So this sort of a customization is covered, as well as many other aspects of Power BI, including building dashboards, reports, using bookmarks, and all the other good things. So do check out my paid Power BI course, the link for which is available in the video description, and sign up if interested. I'll catch you again somewhere else. Bye-bye.